Richard Saren's Strange Planet. Following the truth wherever it leads. Exposing evil and corruption and the secret machinations of powerful elites. Revealing the high strangeness beneath the surface of our supposed reality. Coming to you from the Great White North and his studio beneath the stairs. Here's Richard.
Hello, friends, and welcome to the program. Boy, it was hot today. That sounds like a Johnny Carson joke, doesn't it? And then Tommy Newsom would stand there and say, how hot was it? It was just plenty hot. What else can I say? No joke. And I don't know what it was like where you were, but I hope you were cool. I had the mighty Aphrodite and I took the twins down to the beach neighborhood. You have to be careful because the diehard beach residents bristle when you call it the beaches. Did you know that, David? They do not like it to be referred to as the beaches. It is the beach. Anyway, we were down there at Kew Gardens and Kew Beach, and it's one of the. It wasn't as crowded as it should have been, considering how hot it was. And you know what it is, David? I think there's still this hesitation. People don't think that the water's clean. And yet, it is. I mean, there was a time when you would walk on the water, literally. But no, the water is, you're not going to drink it, but it's fine for bathing. And especially if you're just, going in there and waiting a little bit, cooling off. And the water was cold, I tell you. It was cold. But the little guys had their little floaties on and just bobbing around in the water, having a great time. Didn't put their head under the water, which is probably advisable. But I didn't go in the water because I left my floaties at home. So there you go. However, a good time was had by all, and hopefully more of the same weather to come. It's been a great summer. This has been the year of, or the summer for my boys when they fell in love with the water. They've been in and out of the pool at relatives, and we're planning to head up to Wasaga Beach, north of here, as many times as we can on a weekday. Obviously, we're not going to fight the weekend traffic on the 400, but as soon as my schedule clears up a little bit, we're heading up to Wasaga every weekday until the summer's over. However, of course, there is always the issue of gasoline. Gasoline is a lot like the weather, gas prices, because everybody talks about it and no one does anything about it, right? Well, maybe we can change a little bit of that tonight. I'm going to speak with the founder of in just a few moments here, the founder of a company called Water for Gas. And what they have developed is a kit, a conversion kit. It's a do-it-yourself conversion kit. And it will essentially allow you to run your car on water. A water engine. Turn your car into a water engine. Sort of. Depending on how you develop or how you install this equipment and I suppose how you enhance it and so forth. And we'll get the details here in a moment. At the very least, they say you can supplement your fuel, your gasoline fuel, improve your gas mileage by using this equipment. But in some cases, people have reported that they have doubled their gas mileage. Doubled, imagine. And maybe even more importantly, the emissions coming out the tailpipe, practically nil. I think we could all live with that. So, why don't we say hello to Ozzie Freedom? That's his name. I know it. It's his real and legal name. I've seen it on his California license. Although I believe he joins us from Israel tonight. He's the founder of Water for Gas and the author of the original Water for Gas books. Ozzie, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Great to hear you. How are you?
Israel.
And how are things in Israel?
It's quiet and feels very safe.
Wonderful. And what time is it over there this morning?
6 a.m.
6 a.m. Well, God bless you for getting up at 6 a.m. to do the show. I appreciate it.
No problem.
Thanks
for having me on the show.
My pleasure. Well, listen, as I was saying, gas prices always top of mind, especially when people are heading out on the road for vacations and road trips during the summer. And here in Toronto, we're looking at about $1.30 a liter, which, we have it pretty easy considering what they're paying in places like Europe, and I don't know what the gas prices are currently like in the Middle East or in Israel, but let's just dive right in here and tell me what is the technology? What is it that you do at Water for Gas? How does this work?
The technology is based on water, and what it does is it uses either water by itself or components of water like hydrogen to boost the existing engine and make it better. It doesn't replace gasoline, it doesn't replace diesel, but it just makes it better. It can be done as simple as just water vapor, a stupid little jar. I was amazed at first when the first thing that was put in my 20-year-old truck was just a kitchen jar, a mason jar with a little hose going in with an aquarium stone at the bottom. And I look at the jar and I said, it's empty, there's nothing here. Is that the device? He says, yes. Goes to the garden hose, fills it up with water, puts it in my engine, and within 60 seconds I can hear that the engine runs so much smoother, quieter. The emissions went down. And I said, hey, what happened? He looks at me and he says, well, it happens in every car. And that day I was sold on water by itself. And then after a couple of months, I started learning how to turn it into hydrogen and all the other sophistication. But it goes as simple as like a $1 device.
We've heard about water engines for a very long time. So this is essentially something that anyone could make if they went to their hardware store. And what is it that you do at Water for Gas? You tell people how to do it, how to build it themselves, or do you sell the equipment?
It's both. We sell it as do-it-yourself books, do-it-yourself DVDs. People can learn everything about it. It's like nothing held back. We want as many people to have the technology in their hands. And many have learned it to the point that they sell it to others. We don't want this to stop. This is actually protection for Water for Gas, to spread the knowledge as far out as possible. But some people say, we want it installed in our cars, or we want to buy a kit, we don't want to build the kit. And they just buy a kit and install it, or have their mechanics install it for them.
So, again, you're describing it as a glass jar with a tube, a hose that comes out of it. And where does that go into? Into the carburetor? How does it work?
Yeah, it goes into the carburetor, or in the newer cars, into the air intake. The engine sucks it in, and that's about it. You don't have to change the engine. You don't have to find some way to inject it deep into the engine. Just put it somewhere that the engine will take it, and it will mix with the gasoline vapors, and the car will do the rest.
So what is the principle behind this technology, Ozzie? Are you adding certain hydrogen molecules that are coming off of the water? You're adding hydrogen molecules from the water into the gasoline air mixture?
Exactly. It could be three things. It could be hydrogen that you take from the water, which means you take it on demand. You have a glass jar or a plastic jar filled with water. There's no hydrogen stored anywhere. You just take a little bit of hydrogen, and supply it to the engine, or you just take the water and you split it into hydrogen and oxygen, and you give both to the engine. They're both good. And in the extreme, it's just water vapor. There's no hydrogen or nothing. Just water by itself will do less than hydrogen, but it will also do good to the engine and to the emissions. And
how are you splitting the hydrogen molecules off from the water? Does it have to come to a boil, or how does that happen?
Simple electrolysis. You just take the 12 volts from the battery and you put it into whatever. It could be 2 spoons in there. Or we do it with plates, with wire, and just you look at it and it looks kind of boiling, but you see electrolysis happening in there. See the bubbles coming out? It's bubbles of hydrogen and oxygen.
Ozzie Freedom on the line from Israel, and he is the founder of Water for Gas. That's water, and then the number 4, gas. Water for Gas. And the website waterforgas.com. That's correct. Is that it? Waterforgas.com. Yes. Now, is this dangerous? I mean, is there anything that can happen? No types of explosions or anything like that?
No, because you don't store hydrogen anywhere. It just goes into the engine a little bit at a time and consumed.
What sort of reports are you hearing back from people? People are, in some instances, doubling their gas mileage? Is that correct?
Yeah, double and more. I revisited today the report from Art Green that was reported on in Virginia. He more than doubled his gas mileage in town 2.5 times, from 8 miles per gallon to 20 miles per gallon. It was reported on WVEC twice. And on the highway from 20 miles per gallon to 40 miles per gallon. And that's on a brand new Avalanche 2008.
Yeah, that's a big vehicle.
It's like an old car. It was brand new, and he says, wow, it's so much powerful and better.
It's more, so the engine performs better as well.
Yeah, new and old, yeah. That's the report.
And what about
another guy that doubled from 15 miles to 30 miles per gallon that was reported on KATU from Linn County in Oregon.
Has this been tested, under scientific conditions? Have there been rigorous scientific methods sort of applied to testing this equipment to verify what you're saying?
Yes, the principle was tested many years ago by NASA, and actually, if I would like to send the listeners to OzzieFreedom.com. That's my resume, and on the beginning of it, I show all the books. 2 of them are for free downloads: The Science Behind Water for Gas, and another one just under it. That book has 260 pages, but it refers to over 3,000 pages of scientific evidence from NASA, from the Patent Office, from the European Patent Office. It went through very rigorous testing, but we don't have a certain system, a certain model that we can say, okay, we can send that. It has so many models for so many cars, so I don't have a certain system to go and test and say this is the end of the road. It keeps evolving. It's experimental and evolving, and it just gets better.
Is it conceivable, Ozzie, that, and maybe you or someone else is working on this, is it conceivable that you will be able to come up with a device that will allow an internal combustion engine to run primarily on water with maybe just a little bit of gasoline? We'll hold on to that answer. We'll pick it up on the other side. Ozzie Freedom is the founder of waterforgas.com and the author of the original series of books, Water for Gas. That's right, folks. A simple mason jar, a rubber hose, a few other simple items anybody could pick up at the home hardware or just about any place that sells such things, and with a little bit of information that you can get from Water for Gas, conceivably you could at least double your gas mileage. We'll also find out what comes out the tailpipe. Back with more of The Conspiracy Show. Stay with us. Ozzie Freedom is with us. Love that name. Great name. And perhaps he's offering us a great deal of freedom. Water for Gas is the company he co-founded, and they will provide you with the information you need to convert your car so that it can run at least partially on water. Those are the claims, and as astounding as they may seem, keep in mind, as he has pointed out, that this idea of a water engine has been around almost as long as if we've had cars. Now, Ozzie, there was a gentleman by the name of Stan Myers who supposedly developed some sort of a water engine fuel cell. Some say he was murdered. What can you tell me about Stanley Myers?
Okay, I don't know him personally, and the story of him being murdered is on the internet. You can read it, you can see the videos and all. I don't know if it's true, it's just rumor, but I thought about it when I started Water for Gas. I don't want to be killed. So what did he do to get himself killed? And from my viewpoint, this is my personal opinion, what killed him was the secret. He published most of his knowledge, but kept some secrets so he can make some money from it or whatever. So I thought to myself, I don't want to do that. I don't want to be another story. So I decided from day one to do the inversion of keeping secrets, just taking everything I know, giving it to the public, and creating some kind of a club of experimenters whereby I give them everything I know. They experiment, they give me their experimental notes and success stories and problems and everything. And then whatever comes to me, I give back again to everybody in the club. So I thought, if everybody knows it, I'm not the target. Everybody becomes the target.
Now, how do you know how Stanley Meyer's water fuel cell differed from what you're offering?
It's very complicated. That's the short of it.
I understand. I mean,
it's very complicated, and there are parts missing in his patents. So many people have tried to replicate it, and they have only partial success.
My understanding is, and I'm a complete layman, he replaced the spark plugs with some sort of injector system, and so that's how he introduced the hydrogen and oxygen mixture into the engine cylinders. He actually he developed a special type of injector. Is that correct?
Right, I saw the drawing, but it's not all. This is just part of the idea.
And was Stanley Myers claiming that he could run a car entirely on water?
Not entirely, but
No.
maybe 90%.
Okay, so before we went into the last break, I asked you that question. Is it possible? I mean, I know that they're experimenting now. They have prototypes. They're driving them around, automobiles that run on hydrogen. But do you think using your device, it would be possible, if you were to perfect it, that you could not only just supplement gasoline, but eventually replace gasoline and run a car on water?
No, not with this system.
No?
This system is not based on doing extensive changes to the car.
Okay.
It's doing something small that anybody can do to a rented car even, or leased car. It's just a very simple thing that you add and you can always remove. It doesn't take a lot of money because we can change the engine and everything. I'm not a mechanic. Many other people are not. They just want something simple. To build a water car, I don't know how to do that.
But
This is not what I...
Okay, so let's see what sort of is there a glass ceiling here? You mentioned that some cars have reported, or individuals have reported, doubling their gas mileage. Is it possible to perhaps triple your gas mileage?
I heard stories. I have testimonials for triple mileage, but the average is much less than that. The average is like 25 to 20 to 50% or something like that.
Well,
maybe more, 25, 35.
Now, what happens, you mentioned that the car is running better, there's no more knocking and pinging and so forth. What comes out the tailpipe? Is there, are you drastically reducing the emissions?
Yes, the scientists tell us that the most dangerous emission is the CO, right?
Carbon monoxide, yes.
Carbon monoxide, right? So I can see on the smoke tests that have been sent to me, it goes to zero, very, very close to zero. The rest differs, but this first one, and you can smell it with your nose. It smells like roses, so you know that something is happening.
You're actually reducing the amount of carbon monoxide coming out of the tailpipe to near zero in some instances.
Yes.
All right, let's go to the phones for Ozzie Freedom. Hugh is in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania. Hugh, welcome to the Conspiracy Show. What do you make of this?
Thank you very much, Mr. Surratt. Hello, Mr. Freedom. Yeah, not too long ago, back in the early 60s, I did something like this, a little bit different. And if I can help you in any way, you can call my office during business hours. I'll explain a little bit about what I did, and you can determine if it's of any value to you. The primary of the ignition coil, this was cars with carburetors. It'll work with fuel injection, too. You boost up the voltage from the battery. Usually the power from the generator or the alternator is like 16 volts. You can build a transformer that will increase that to anywhere from 50 to 60 volts. When you put that into the primary of the ignition coil, you have very, very high output, something as high as 150,000 volts, but very low current. In addition to that, the high voltage, you also have something that does separate the water vapor. You have a little fuel pump there, a water pump actually, and instead of fuel, you're pumping in water, which separates oxygen and hydrogen. And a combination of that, I'll give you an actual example. We use several cars, but the most successful one was a 1961 V8 Impala. Now, being a V8, it had something like 365 horsepower.
Hugh, I don't want you to get too technical because you're going to lose a lot of people like me because I'm not a car guy. Let me ask you this. What kind of gas mileage? I mean, you're supplementing the gas fuel with the hydrogen, correct? You're not replacing
it. That's correct.
Okay, what were you doing with your gas mileage? Doubling it, tripling it?
365 horsepower, you were lucky if you got 11 or 12 miles per gallon.
Sure.
And when you turn this device into the primary ignition, you would boost. You could go back and forth about 50 miles to the same gas station, and when you filled up what you used up, it came to about 24.5 miles per gallon, and that was we called that the Super Novatron. And there was another one. We never got a chance to build it. It would be called the Ultra Super Novatron, and we expected that to even double.
Hugh, do you have
got around to it?
Hugh, do you have an email or a website that you can share with Ozzie?
I can give to your screener
Yes.
my office number. You can contact me, and I'll reverse the charges. And Mr. Sir, I should tell you very quickly too, because this will supplement the format. In this country, there are thousands of fuel-free devices that are not getting a patent. I had one of them. There is a rule and a law in America that does not allow you to use a fuel-free engine. It can be used in other countries, but not in America. I sold a prototype for $10,000, but the manufacturer in Dover, Delaware, is exporting them to other countries because it's illegal to sell them here in America. The FBI and the CIA went down to the car manufacturer and made sure that they were not going to distribute them here in America.
Now, what about this device, this do-it-yourself kit? You're only supplementing your fuel. Would that be illegal?
No, this is perfectly 100% legal,
Right.
at least to date. That could change.
Right. Well, Hugh, listen, this is fascinating. Thank you for offering some corroborating data. Good to hear from Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania.
I enjoyed it. Thank you, sir.
All right. If you want to, we'll put you on hold, and if I can get you to leave your office number, then I can pass that on to Ozzie off the air.
10-4, will do.
Thank you, Hugh.
Yes, thank you.
All right. We feel like a dating service here for water engine people, but it's the Lord's work. Why not? Let's spread the good word. So I guess my $1 million question would be, if this is doing what you're saying it's doing, why hasn't this become picked up by the automakers? Why isn't this standard equipment in vehicles if they can increase gas mileage this way?
It's a very good question. And at the beginning I thought about Stanley Myers and all this fight about petrol revenues and all of that. And it took me a couple years to realize that it's way beyond that. What we're doing is we are disrupting the bottom line of the car industry. Even if there was no suppression from big oil and all of that. Imagine what happens to a car if they sell it to me for $7,000 and $845.30. They calculated every cent. It's not a made-up price. There's something called planned obsolescence. Am I saying it right?
Planned obsolescence, yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So they calculated exactly when you're going to come back for the engine, the wheels, and everything else. And that goes into the price. Now, if you take this system that anybody can buy for $200 or make himself for much less, then if you're doubling the lifespan of the engine, the car will not survive maybe 12 years, but it will survive 24 years. That breaks their calculation of the price, right? You're not going to come back for a new engine or for a new car even.
Exactly. Yes. So that's one of the additional benefits of running your car on one of these devices, is that you're increasing the engine life.
Exactly. And it's a smoother ride. I'm telling you, it's so much easier and feels so much better to drive, even with a diesel. The diesel becomes quiet. The gasoline becomes even quieter. It's just a smooth ride.
How many people have purchased one of these kits from you? How many automobiles do you think are driving around in North America using one of these devices?
Okay, on our store, just this store, in the last 2.5 years, it was 5,700 parts and kits were sold, and about I think 270 of those from Canada. I was interested in Canadians especially, but many thousands around the world. I believe tens of thousands of experiments between do-it-yourself or those who bought kits from me, from so many others.
Ozzie Freedom is with us here on The Conspiracy Show, the founder of waterforgas.com and the author of the original series of books, Water for Gas. And how many companies out there like you are selling do-it-yourself kits or, the information packets so that people can do it themselves? Are there a lot of companies like yours doing this?
There were about 10 of them when I started in 2006. And what happened is that I didn't want to be alone. And when I learned how to build the systems and I started teaching them, I had about 2,500 people who opened their own business based on my books. I wanted them to open their own business. So imagine 2,500 people just under me selling to I don't know how many people, many thousands, I believe. So it spread like wildfire.
And those 2,500 are still up and around and operating?
I don't know. I don't
hard
really,
to say. It's hard to track internet businesses.
I think many of them disappeared, but there are hundreds still operation.
And you have one on your vehicle?
Yeah, I don't have a vehicle right now, but I had 2 vehicles in America, and all of them were on water, yeah.
And what kind of gas mileage were you doing?
I was getting 61 something on the Toyota gasoline.
61 miles per gallon?
Miles per gallon, yes. And almost 64 on the Volkswagen Jetta.
And what would one of these devices, if I were to buy the equipment myself, or the parts, the components myself, a jar and a hose and what have you, everything that I need, what would it cost me at the hardware store?
Depends on the quantities. If you just buy one, it could be maybe $70 worth of materials.
$70? Okay.
Yeah, I think so.
And how quickly, if I have the proper instructions that I would get from a company like yours, Water for Gas, how long would it take me to install that?
Assuming you're technical?
Yes.
Okay, that will take about a weekend to complete everything.
A weekend. And if I'm not technical, it's probably best left to a mechanic?
Yes.
All right.
My first installation took me 45 minutes. And I didn't know anything about cars. I'm a motorcycle guy and an airplane guy. I'm technical, but I don't know about cars.
All right, Ozzie, stay with us. Hang in there. We'll come back to you on the other side. Ozzie Freedom, live from Israel, the founder of waterforgas.com. Intriguing. Maybe too intriguing.
This is Richard Syrett's Strange Planet. Follow Richard on Twitter @Richard Syrett. For show information, visit the website strangeplanet.ca.
If I'm not mistaken, Henry Ford's original intention was to run his automobiles on ethanol. But when you step back and take a look at it, why they didn't go that route, makes a lot of sense now. It's pretty hard to create a false scarcity with ethanol when you can make it out of corn. I mean, it's replenishable. You can just keep growing the stuff in the great breadbasket of the American Midwest. But oil, that's another matter, right? And it's always been my contention that the aim of the oil company is not to extract as much oil as they can, but is to keep as much in the ground as they possibly can. And then when it starts to flow, you create wars in order to disrupt that flow, and you create artificial scarcities. And when that doesn't work, you shut down refineries, or you refuse to build ones. Or the oil companies write the environmental laws which make it impossible to build new oil refineries. Artificial scarcity. So along comes Stanley Myers and others who say, wait a minute, we can create a component that you can put in your car that'll double or triple your gas mileage. Now there are reports that Stanley Myers was murdered, perhaps by, I don't know, someone hired by Big Oil, or you can connect the dots is what I'm saying. You could make that case. Ozzie Freedom is with us. He's live on the line from Israel. He's the founder of waterforgas.com, and he will tell you how to create one of these devices that you can put in your car to supplement your gasoline, not to replace it with water. It's basically creating hydrogen for your car to burn alongside the gasoline. And here's the kicker. He says the carbon monoxide emissions are reduced to about, approximately nil. Let's say hello to Jeff in South Haven, Michigan. Jeff, good evening. Welcome to the Conspiracy Show.
Thank you for taking my call, Mr. Sterrett. And Mr. Friedman, I have a two-stroke or two-cycle powered moped. So it has what they call reed valves, and the cylinder walls around a piston are ported. So that means the fuel mixture would be taken down into the crankcase of the motor. My concern is, can you still use this water system with it to extend the mileage, or would it just rust out the bearings or the metal components in the bottom of the motor?
Good question, Jeff.
Yeah, I don't think with a little bit of hydrogen you're going to rust the engine. There's water coming in from the atmosphere, especially when you drive in the rain and nothing happens. We're adding a tiny little bit.
Jeff, does that answer your question?
Oh, that's excellent. I've got to start working on a system for the moped. Thank you so much.
All right, Jeff in South Haven, Michigan, thank you for checking in. Well, it begs a great question. In fact, someone was on the line, Ozzie, but they couldn't hang in, and that is, what happens up in these northern climes where water tends to freeze? About November, December, January, right through until early April. What do you do if you're driving around in Canada or the American, northeast and so forth? When winter comes, won't the water in that device just freeze?
Water as itself will freeze, but you can use washer fluid. That wouldn't freeze, and will just make just the same hydrogen and oxygen.
Is that right? That's been tested. You can replace the water with antifreeze or wiper fluid?
Yeah. I couldn't test it in California. There was no use, but people have been telling me that.
And that's not diluted. That's just 100%, let's say wiper fluid that's graded for, say, minus 30 or whatever?
I think 50% water and 50% washer fluid, as long as it doesn't freeze or doesn't totally freeze. And then the electricity of the electrolysis will heat it up, and within 5 minutes it's good to go.
Have you received pressure to shut down your website and stop giving out this information?
Absolutely. There was a case with Texas that was telling me that without giving any evidence that I defrauded the entire 3,200 Texans that bought my book. They said each one of them is a fraud, and I have to pay $20,000 per. So basically, I owed them $64 million, and they just made a lot of noise on the internet. Their accusations went copied by other news that look for this kind of stuff. And their accusation was not that, based on science, but it was based on somebody's opinion, some reporter's opinion, that based his article his internet article on some professor that didn't test my system, but didn't even read my book. They just interviewed somebody and said, we tested it 40 years ago, it doesn't work.
Ozzie, I got a break. I got the music coming up underneath us here. But very quickly, was this a class action lawsuit? Who brought these charges against you?
The Attorney General of Texas. And it wasn't a class suit. There wasn't even one suit of a reader.
Okay, listen.
Every reader that wanted his money back got his money back.
Okay, we'll pick that up on the other side. Texas, hey, no kidding. Oil, Texas, go figure. Back with more of The Conspiracy Show and Ozzie Freedom from Water for Gas. Stay with us.
As you're staring up at the night sky, ever wonder who's staring back? You're listening to Richard Syrett's Strange Planet.
Ozzie Freedom, that is his real name, is the co-founder, the founder of waterforgas.com and the author of the original Water for Gas books. And they will sell you a kit, or they'll sell you instructions on how to basically build your own kit that can convert your car engine to run at least partially on water to supplement gasoline. And there have been reports of increased fuel mileage of people have said that they've doubled their gas mileage, and there have been a few, I guess, uncorroborated reports of people tripling their gas mileage. The other benefits of this device, essentially running your car partially on hydrogen, is increased engine life. And you can understand the car companies aren't too excited about that, nor the oil companies. But the environmentalists should be thrilled with the fact that the device will reduce your carbon monoxide emissions to nil. At least these are the claims people are reporting. And Ozzie Freedom joining us on the line from Israel. Now, if I put this on my car, would I void my warranty, Ozzie?
I don't think so, but I would check with your car dealer or the insurer or whoever takes care of that.
Now, the other thing here, before we go back to the calls, is, a lot of cars now have all of these computer components, and even the fuel injection and all that is run by computer. Isn't there something, if you're trying to, aren't you essentially on a newer model car, you'd have to bypass that computer system, wouldn't you?
In a way, yes. It's true, and it's in the books and in DVDs exactly how to bypass it. Again, without changing the computer, without changing the car. It's just a little change.
All right, let's say hello to Virginia, who's checking in from Niagara. Virginia, welcome to The Conspiracy Show.
Hi. I've got a little book here called Cell Foods, and I use Cell Foods. And the man he was working on a hydrogen-oxygen for cars, and he had the problem of how do you prevent this ice in winter. And the government took his research over and created the H-bomb. He was not impressed with it, so he went to see them, and he was told he and his people were dying of nuclear contamination. They'd never been there. So he changed his research to cell foods to heal the body. He said if you heal each cell, you've healed the body. He healed himself, and he was going to take the technology to his grave with him. But a doctor, David Dreyer, who had come back from Vietnam and was dying, got hold of this, and he begged him not to take it, and he healed himself, and he begged him not to take it to the grave with him. And Dr. David Dreyer has taken it over and has produced this stuff that I take, and his little book, Cell Food, and Dr. David Dreyer's email and everything is in the back of the book.
Virginia, thank you for that. Appreciate that. Ozzie, are you familiar with the origin of the water engine? I mean, does that connection make sense, that the person who developed this technology, that technology was taken to develop the H-bomb? I've not heard that. I have a
similar story, but I'm not sure. There are so many stories, and there are rumors to me just as there are rumors to you. I can't check them all. What I did is something so much simpler. I give it to the people. Go, first of all, taste it. Get the taste in your own car, and then make sense or not sense of any story you hear.
You know, the old expression, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is, and many people may be sitting at home saying, this sounds too good to be true. Supplementing my fuel with water, doubling my gas mileage with some parts that cost $70. What's the catch, they may be saying? Ozzie, it sounds too good to be true.
The catch is experimenting. That's the catch, is to study and first of all open your mind, because it's not such a great deal to believe that if the cars are admittedly 80% ineffective, if you just take a little bit of that 80% of waste and take it off, what happens is that you have taken your 20%, your 20 lousy percent, and doubled it to 40 or even less than 40, even just 30. You got yourself so much better mileage and sound and smell and everything. You see, this is the thing that they don't think. That they think that our car is 100% and you can't take 100% and make it 200%. No, we're dealing with lousy engines. Poorly developed engines,
or actually very cleverly designed engines so that they're not running at full efficiency for some of the reasons that you outlined earlier, built-in obsolescence, and obviously they want us to buy as much gasoline as possible. Why not just give away the technology? If the aim here is to free us from the clutches of the greedy oil companies, why not just post this information free online so that everyone can have access to it?
The information is out there. What I did is just organized it in a more concise way. So when they buy the DVD, they just follow my hands into every little tool, every little thing, and they can do it themselves from there on.
Okay, how do people...
It's free. It's no patent whatsoever. You know?
Okay, if I want to buy one of these kits through Water for Gas, what do I do?
Just go to Water for Gas, and in the store there's a system that starts from, I think, $149. It's the basic one.
That's the complete system?
Yeah.
Okay.
And there are more kits than that, but it starts from $149, and then there's a bit more sophisticated things, like acrylic cells, something that has plates and stuff. It's not a jar.
Okay. And that includes a DVD on how to install it?
No, the DVD is separate.
Okay.
It's a set of DVDs for $99. Okay. But it's 10 discs, 7 of them. Please understand, 7 of those are full feature movies, like 90 minutes each. Multiply that by 7. There's a lot of information. I show everything. The information is out there. Let
me try and sneak one more call in here quickly. Derek is in Indiana. Derek, welcome to the Conspiracy Show.
Yeah, Mr. Ozzie. I knew a kid that back in the 70s or 80s, I don't know if he got this information from Popular Mechanics or not, but he put something similar to what you're describing through a glass jar and tubing and adjustable valve and stuff through a vacuum directly into the carburetor, and he adjusted that and everything, and what he got out of his experience with that was he got a cleaner running engine because water is a good disintegrator of carbon in the engine, but I don't know if he really had an increase in gas mileage or not. I was wondering if your system allows you to deliberately lean out the gas so you can get the better gas mileage without harming your engine.
All right. Thank you for that, Derek. Good to hear from Indiana. Can you lean out the mixture?
Absolutely. That's part of the trick. The water and the hydrogen actually lets you lean the thing. NASA has said that in 1974, that this is what it does. It lets you lean out the mixture.
If it's this simple, I mean, this should be in every single vehicle. We could drastically reduce our dependency on foreign oil. What do we need to do to get this technology into everyone's hands? Why isn't everyone buying one of these things? What's going on?
Maybe the belief factor.
The belief factor, yeah. People are incredulous.
That's all. There are 2 sets of DVDs, actually. One is there to put it in car, and one is to use this technology to heat homes and restaurants or whatever you have. It's just a heater that sits there, uses up as little as 300 watts of electricity, and spits out a whole lot of heat. we just take the hydrogen from water and burn it. Off goes the heat into the room, you see?
That's remarkable. Listen, Ozzie, we're going to have to do this again sometime. We'll talk about that heating system using the same principle. And, a lot of people wanting to get in on the conversation who couldn't this time around. So would you be good to do that sometime perhaps in the fall of this year? We'll get you back on the program.
I would love to. Thank you so much.
Ozzie Freedom is the founder of water4gas.com. Water, and then the number 4, water4gas, all one word, .com, and check it out. And if you're so inclined to buy one and install it, I'd love to hear from you on the program. Let me know, and I know Ozzie would love to hear details as well. What kind of gas mileage are you getting and so forth? One small step, perhaps, for mankind. Where have we heard that before? All right, back with more of the Conspiracy Show next time. And hey, coming up on the program in the not-too-distant future, Babylon's Banksters, the alchemy of deep physics, high finance, and ancient religion with Joseph Farrell. He'll be on the program, and all upcoming shows are listed at the website, www.richardsyrett.com.